What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show powered by BetUS TV. The Blazers today lose to the Golden State Warriors 103 to 86. They gain some ground in the lottery. They gain sole possession of ninth best lottery odds as they clearly and obviously tanked this game against the Golden State Warriors and were pretty competitive for stretches of this game, considering the lineup they had on the floor. And the Blazers, complete game number 81. They got one game left in their season. We're going to break down this game a little bit, probably not much. We're going to talk about the latest Chauncey Billups report about how he's likely to return as Blazers head coach. As I talked about that a little bit earlier today on a live stream, Eric hasn't had his chance to touch upon that report. And then we're also going to talk about what the Blazers' dream offseason would look like. All right, we're going to have a little bit of positivity. I'm going to tell you what I would try to do if I was the owner of this team this offseason. All right. And we're going to kind of talk about the offseason because, I mean, it's the final weekend of the season for the Blazers. We'll have two live streams on Sunday, one post-game show, but one show before games start where we'll pick all of Sunday's games with some wild spread lines. As you got some teams tanking, some teams resting guys because they're locked into playoff odds, and some teams playing for something. The Blazers were playing for nothing tonight. They were playing to lose, and they lost. Eric, what's going on, man? How's it going?
Oh, I'm pretty good. It's getting. I'm glad there's only one more game left because it's pretty tough to sit through some of these games here at the end of the season when they start tanking. But we made it, right, Tori? And glad to be on another post-game show and talk about some other things.
Yeah.
Whoa, the Jazz.
Well, I'm trying to fix things here. So,
We beat the Jazz tonight,
no,
apparently.
no, here we go. There. That's better. That's better. Yeah, man, it's just trying to enjoy the last couple games of the season. I mean, I think people are kind of over the tanking after the past couple of years. So, this game was just, it sucks that it kind of feels the same way as last year. The Blazers aren't playing for anything once again, but also it's just kind of a necessary evil at this point, a necessary thing that the Blazers got to do. It's the best thing for them long term to try and lose a game like this, to not play their best players. Even though it sucks, it's what has to be done at this point. So I'm just glad that they're actually doing it instead of maybe trying to win games that would only hurt them in the long run. But yeah, we're going to try and make the show fun today. We're going to do like some fan appreciation stuff on Sunday. We'll just save it for the last post game of the season, considering it'll be a Sunday afternoon. It'll be a good time to do it. But today we're just going to have some conversations, answer some chat questions, and do our best to put on a good post-game show for you guys, as we've done all freaking season, man. So, Eric, is there anything that stood out from this game? Is there anything you want to talk about from this game, chat? You can let us know what you want to talk about from this game as well in the live chat. Eric, I'll start with you.
Well, I know in the stream earlier you were talking about Donovan Clingan a lot, and I think he showed some of his potential in this game. So that stood out. Like in the first quarter, he was like our only offense for a while there.
Yeah.
The beginning of the game, I thought he was kind of aggressive on offense. Even took a mid-range, like 16-foot jumper.
I think that was the first
shocked.
one of his season. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember another one. And so. Yeah, I mean, that was probably encouraging. Tamani had some nice defensive moments in this game, as did Thibault. He's trying to make that last second push. Even has Dame's vote for first team all defensive. If you saw that tweet.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, there was some good stuff in this game, but ultimately. They were obviously trying to lose this game, and the Warriors were trying to win, and it felt like they were a little tight at first. Like, oh man, we better start playing better. And luckily for us, their shots started falling. Overall, once they got up 20, I mean, we cut it to what, like 15, 14 a couple times. Thought maybe if we made a push, we could make a game of it at the end, but never really seemed to be in doubt once they started taking the lead.
Yep. I like that they kind of fought back from a 25-point deficit to cut the lead to like 15 or so. We got some City Sissoko minutes, and he had some really, really bad turnovers, but also had some really nice passes, man. He passes the ball hard, which is a good thing. Is a good thing in the NBA. I wish some players on this team would pass the ball a little more crisply, so to say. And Sissoko, I don't know, like, he could pass the ball, shots rough, handle looked a little rough. Those are just kind of my takeaways from his game today. Worth a two-way. He's still young, but I mean, he kind of showed you like some of the potential. That is why I liked picking him up on a two-way contract, but then also showed you why he was let go in the first place in the middle of the season.
To me, it looks like he hadn't played basketball in like a couple months, and he just came back into this game, which could be. I mean, he's not in like game shape because he hasn't had a ton of minutes lately, but it seemed like he hadn't picked up a basketball for a while, and you could see like his IQ was kind of helping a little bit, but it was like a step slow, and the passes were a little late on some of them. So like you could see like he potentially could be something if he got in shape and really hone those skills into where he wasn't so sloppy. But you're right, like unless he does that, it's hard to see him really amounting to too much. But a couple flashes are nice.
Yeah, a couple flashes are always nice. I will say I like the way Repairs played the last couple of games. I feel like we didn't really talk about him last post-game show. He's attacking with more confidence than I've ever seen from him. He had a couple drives in this game that were just deliberate, and he looked quicker. You know what I mean? He's had a lot of moments where he seems hesitant or tentative to drive, but then will kind of drive, but be just like it won't be forceful or he won't like commit to his drives. And there's a couple of drives today where he just committed to the drive and got downhill and actually drove strong, and it looked good. It had that nice little 6-foot fadeaway jumper, which I think could be a good shot for him because his wingspan is crazy, 7'3" wingspan or whatever it is. So, it's just nice to see him have some good moments the past couple of nights. I kind of wish he was playing a little bit sooner, just because I think he would have had. I think like these past couple of games have been good confidence builders for him, and I would have liked to have seen a sustained run of him getting minutes with this level of confidence that he's played with in the last two games.
Yeah, absolutely. He did seem a little more confident in the last two games. I did mention last game that he was showing you your tweet was wrong or whatever, but once again, he's one of those guys where if he's on the bench next year, it's fine. If they move on from him, I don't know if that's like a huge loss either. We have like 5 of those guys. So, I'm tending to lean towards with Repair. I'm okay with it, but most of the other guys, and if you want to throw Repair into this basket, that's fine too. I know he's only 20, so like I'm not saying like we should get rid of him or like he better not be on the roster or anything, but I do hope they switch out and take some chances on some into the bench guys instead of just bringing the same group back.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think that applies to other guys. I think that applies more to Chris Murray, somebody that's, 4 years older than Repair at this point, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like what Repair's shown the past couple of games. It was something that I kind of needed to see from him in year 2, like at the end of year 2. Before these past couple of games, he didn't look much better compared to year 1, and that was a little worrying to me. But the last 2 games, he looked pretty good. And basketball's a mental game, so maybe it's just the little bit of experience he's gotten so far at the NBA level, culminating in him having just a little bit more confidence and driving a little harder. I don't know, man. This is what we have to break down at the end of the year, right? So, you had Repair have some good moments, had 7 quick points at the start of the fourth quarter. And then Clingan rebounded the ball well. The 3-point shot seems worse than it was at the start of the year, but it could just be because he's finally shooting more than one in a blue moon. Hopefully he can kind of dial that in. It's just funny that the Blazers, when they drafted him, talked about how much his jump shot impressed them, and it's like not even NBA level at all. I don't know if they got to run guys through harder shooting drills or something because, they liked Chris Murray and he was supposed to be a shooter and he hasn't been a shooter. And they really like Clingan's jump shot and that's a work in progress, which was expected to be, but it's like, man, you got to find guys that actually shoot, I think, this offseason. But Clingan did what he did well, what he does well, which is had some good moments protecting the rim, deterring drives, had some good moments finishing, good moments on the board. I still think he's not moving quite as well as he was at the start of the season, and I think that shows up slightly in his defense. He's still, I think, a good rim protector right now. He was just even better at the start of his rookie season. So if that's really the case, how does he work around it next season? I don't know, but that's maybe something for the team to figure out how to help him with. And then at the end of the day, we still have to remember he's a rookie. So if he looks noticeably better next year, he's going to be a good NBA player, man. Just look at this jump that Scoop made this year and just think about Clingan having anything similar to that sort of jump. And Clingan, I think, becomes at least an average starting center in the league, which for a second-year 21-year-old who plays good defense, you'll absolutely take that. So I think Clingan's going to be fine. I think he's had a lot of good moments this year. He has some things he needs to work on, some of it finishing around the rim and finding ways to get up shots around the rim, catching the ball in traffic. There's multiple things for him to work on this offseason, but one thing I'm confident in is he will work on them and he will improve upon them.
Yeah, seems like he got the necessary experience in film to see what he needs to improve on. Now it's just show that you can do that in an off season and work your butt off, turn some of your body weight into muscle and get a little stronger, find out the games that you got in foul trouble, try to figure out why you got in foul trouble, the silly fouls, try to avoid those, and then trying to work on maybe catching the ball lower because he has struggled with that, and you can't always get it high, so you gotta work on that a little bit. But when you're that big of a person, it's hard, but you got to learn that. And then I think on defense, it's been fine. Just gotta realize that when you're a shot blocker or rim protector, there's going to be players that get you into the air, and you got to try to avoid doing that or falling for pump fakes, things like that. So lots of things he can clean up, lots of things that are on film now, and if he studies those and works this offseason, I have no doubt that he'll improve those things.
Yep, chat, give your thoughts on Clingan, what you think of his season so far. It's not over on Sunday, but let me know what you think of Clingan. I know that I feel like the people that are most vocal about Donovan Clingan are the people that criticize him. So for those of you that like what he's shown this year, let us know in the live chat. And Tamani played. He's kind of like the only other non-tanking player, I guess. And what'd you think of him tonight?
Who was that? Sorry.
Tamani.
Tamani.
What was the broadcast saying? Delani?
Delani. Yeah, don't call him that. I thought Tamani was fine. Did some good things. He's going to struggle if he's one of the focal points on offense sometimes. But, I thought he was fine. And, is holding his shoulder there in the second half. I'm assuming he won't play on Sunday because of that, or because of tanking, one or the other. But
Well, now they have the perfect excuse because here's the
yeah,
thing: the Lakers, LeBron's obviously not going to play. Luka's probably won't play. They have nothing to play for. They're locked into third best odds. So you need to tank that game. You need to find a way to lose that game if you're the Blazers, because it's the difference between ninth best odds and a tie for ninth best odds. Those are the only two lottery results that are in play for the Blazers entering this final day of the regular season. But they're two results that matter. Like, there's a difference in terms of potential pick and lottery odds. So at this point, it's like, yeah, tank, find a way to lose. What time does Phoenix play? Do they play at the same time as us?
they play at 12:30 p.m.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's the same time as us. Just go into that game, find a way to lose that game, and end off the season with 35 wins, so Eric doesn't lose his bet, and all's good.
That's crazy.
After such a breakout, you still win that bet. Isn't that funny? Anyway.
Well, I'd be kicking myself if they would have won one more game because I gave him a few. He wanted to do 40 again, and I was like, "Oh no, we'll make it just a little more fair, you know?"
Yeah, wanted to do 40, and then we're victory lapping 35 wins. Just like the Blazers organization seems to be victory lapping 35 wins, which is foreshadowing for the conversation we're going to have later in this stream. If you were here for our stream, well, my stream, Eric wasn't here. If you heard the stream earlier today, you know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, I mean, is there really anything else you want to talk about from this game? Chat, is there anything you want us to talk about? I'll say this. I'll add this. Okay, I really hope Delano Banton is not on this team next year. No offense to Delano Banton, man. No offense to Delano Banton. I just, his game kind of drives me a little crazy. Some of his mistakes, some of his turnovers drive me a little crazy, and I would rather just get somebody that's more off ball, more of a shooter in that role as your fringe rotation offensive spark plug. Have it be somebody that plays off guys, not somebody that's always playing with the ball in their hands and always making mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Because I think he's played good enough to where some team is going to give him a little more than the minimum, and I just hope that's not us. Yeah, I hope we have a different backup point guard. I mean, we always talk about this with Anthony and stuff about how he can get too shot heavy and kind of tunnel vision. Don't we want a backup point guard that runs the offense a little more? I don't know.
You would think.
Is a little better shooter too.
You would think that would make the most sense, but Yeah. Also, just completely off topic, I can't believe I'm about to put Marcus Bagley in a ticker graphic. I saw the Sixers box score. I was like, I thought Marvin Bagley, because I saw M Bagley. I thought Marvin Bagley was on the Grizzlies. Then I realized it's Marcus Bagley finally getting some NBA run. And had a good game today. It's always fun this time of year to see the random guys that finally break into the league.
Yeah. The only other thing for this game that's worth mentioning, Steph hurt his thumb, ended up playing through it, but that could be a huge injury. And then I think we already mentioned this, but LeBron was seen holding his groin or icing his groin, walking gingerly after the game. And so that could have a huge impact on the Lakers' chances as well.
Yeah, I would worry more about LeBron's injury than Steph's. Steph, it's a thumb, sprained thumb or something, jam thumb, I don't know. But it's Warriors and the Lakers. Well, are the Warriors not in the play-in?
They are currently in the 6th. They're tied with Minnesota, so they have to win Sunday too.
Yeah, I mean, if they avoid the play-in, they'll have a week. a week
Right.
for him to recover. And, I mean, he might play. I mean, he's subbed back into this game. So I'm not too worried about Steph. I would be a bit worried about LeBron at his age with a groin injury. He seems a little more serious. So we'll see what happens with him. You never want to see injuries happen to players on contending teams or playoff teams right now at this point of year. Anyway,
Yep.
chat, any questions about this game? We'll answer your questions for about 5 minutes or so if you have enough to hold us over for 5 minutes. We're going to talk about Chauncey. We're going to talk about my dream offseason. My dream offseason for the Blazers. That is more realistic than the Luka trade was, okay? I'll say that. Rupert, we just talked about Rupert. I mean, he's looked good the last 2 games. He's looked more confident for sure. Ant got his 18th tech, is possibly out for the final game. They're lucky it is against Utah. Yeah, I mean, how many more techs until he gets suspended again, Eric?
Who?
Anthony Edwards. He just got suspended for the final game of the year because of his first tech.
Isn't it every tech after that,
Is it every tech after that?
or every other tech or something?
If it's every other tech, then it's probably a good thing that he got a tech and just got that out of the way. Does it carry over into playoffs? I don't know. I don't know what the rule is there. We've never really had a player that we've had to worry about that with. So that's a good thing. Never, our coach doesn't even get technicals usually, so.
Yeah. For the record, so Washington, Utah, Charlotte are locked into all having 14% odds, but Washington and Utah are tied for the final or the first pick. So
Yeah. Which the only way that actually ends up mattering for either team is if neither of them make the top 4.
yeah.
The odds of that is about 23% off the top of my head. Like, if it's 50-50, then the odds would be 25%, but it's 52-52, so I'm going to say like 23% chance of that happening, of that mattering. So
Yeah, because the coin flip would be it would be like one of them would have a 0.1% more chance than the other one, but then it wouldn't matter for the top 3. Never mind.
Yeah.
So
it only matters because
if
you
they're
draw the
fifth
top
and
4.
sixth,
Yeah. If you're fifth and sixth, so
So
at
do
that
they
point,
even care who wins that game then?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, like, those teams probably don't even care if they get screwed that bad. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, Charlotte's locked into 3rd, so they could be. I don't know who they're playing, but if they're playing someone, they could. New Orleans, someone said masterful tank job, but they're locked into 4th, so it doesn't matter. Philly's locked into 5th. Brooklyn's locked into 6th. Toronto's locked into 7th. San Antonio's locked into 8th. So yeah, it just comes down to basically Portland.
Yep.
Portland, Phoenix, 9-10 is the first one that really matters outside that 1-2 one.
Yep. The Blazers still just should have lost to the Spurs, man. Should have lost to the freaking Spurs. But yeah, we'll take a look at Tankathon in a second. Keep Barry, dump Banton. I mean, that's fine. Banton's going to be a free agent. You just don't re-sign him if you're the Blazers, in my opinion. That's how I would approach that. I'm cool with keeping Jabari just because he actually showed some improvement as a shooter this year, but I still don't trust his shot. Do you trust his shot yet, Eric? Like,
Jabari's?
Yeah.
I mean, he seems to be more confident with it, which is really good. It's looking a little bit more like he did in college, but yeah, I don't know. He's got a. It's weird because we talked about this with Scoot. Like, do you give credence to like especially his rookie year that what was he 6 for 6 one game towards his last game of the season or something, and it boosted his average up. Do you give credence to that, or do you look at like some of the struggles more or whatever? Like Jabari was like a 30 like low 30% 3-point shooter the whole year, and then got hot a few games, and now it's like
Yeah.
up near 39%.
I'll
So
put it this way. For a guy that doesn't shoot a lot of them, you need more of a sample of him shooting well to put stock into it, just because he already doesn't shoot that many to begin with, right? It's like you got to shoot well enough over a long enough period of time to kind of justify shooting more in the first place. So, which is kind of a conundrum, right?
it's kind of like Thibault last year when he got up that he was shooting 40% through the first 20 some games, and then it just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, exactly. So
the thing is though, like we've wanted him to be a 3-point shooter. If you can say he's a high 30% 3-point shooter, he does become a little more intriguing as a person to keep over. I'd put him ahead of most of that group that we are considering the guys who we're fine moving on from, right?
yeah, but like here's the thing though. Even if he's a 37% 3-point shooter, he needs to shoot the ones and shoot that percentage when he has like any sort of space on a catch and shoot. The problem is with the Blazers, I feel like, and hopefully they address this offseason, is they got so many guys where it's like they can kind of shoot. And I think this can apply to Denny at times. I think this can apply to Tamani at times, where those guys are 37% from three this year. But how many times do you see them catch the ball on the 3-point line and have a little bit of space, like enough space to get off a clean three, and they just don't shoot the three, and then they drive? And it's like a lot of offensive possessions are guys that just take turn driving and kicking and driving and kicking. Right? At some point, you have to pay that off, or it's like you got to try and shoot something in the paint. I feel like smart teams realize that and just keep running guys off the line, where it's not even hard to run the Blazers off the line because they have guys that would rather try and attack. And that's the thing with Jabari, is like he's seemingly only shooting ones that are completely wide open. So it's not enough to like space the floor because he doesn't have the quickest shot already. And then if there's anybody close, it seems like he's pump faking, trying to put it on the floor. So defenders can still sag off him, even if he's shooting 37%, just with the lack of volume and how badly he seems like he'd rather try and put the ball on the floor.
Yeah. This is where Joe's gotta make his money, right? Like, find some.
Well, it's not where he has to make his money, because he'll make his money regardless. He doesn't have to do anything to make his money. But
that's true. But I'm saying, like, if you want, like, obviously we need to, if you hit on a draft pick or you make a trade, like another Denny type trade, that's obviously better than what I'm about to say. But if they're just going to kind of work within the margins like they have most of Joe's tenure, I think you've got to find a way to find another diamond in the rough type, like a Tamani type somehow, whether that's.
But like it needs to be like offensive diamond in the rough.
Yeah, like a shooter type is probably the best, or a couple shooters. Like an Isaiah Joe type. Like, find that guy, someone who was available a couple seasons ago. Anyone could have had him. And try to find that type of guy.
Mamu Kelashvili.
You're a guy, yeah.
Yeah. Who knows who that guy is? I mean, but this is where the front office has to figure it out, right? It's like they're getting so much credit for getting Tumani in that Dame trade, but people like completely leave out that they drafted both Chris Murray and Ryan Rupert over Tumani Kamara literally 3 months before that. Right? So it's like, all right, so
they got lucky. The Suns are stupid and
yeah, you passed on him for Rupert and Chris Murray. You literally did. So do a better job scouting, all right? But at least you recognize, okay, we should have this guy included in the trade. He looked really good in summer league. Okay, sure, but it's like, all right, it's one guy. You're going to have to replicate that somewhere, and you're going to have to replicate that with somebody on the offensive side of the ball. So, even if you're drafting ninth, or maybe you move down to 10th, it's like you got to really hit on that pick on the offensive end, in my opinion, because this offense needs the help. They're the 23rd ranked offense. This offense desperately needs some sort of help and infusion of talent. And it doesn't even have to be like creation talent. It needs guys that can shoot. The Blazers still are one of the worst shooting teams in the league. And it's like all the end of the roster guys are like wings that can kind of dribble and kind of pass and kind of play defense and struggle to shoot. It's why they were in the first half. They were 2 for 16 from 3. You know what I mean? Like, even Sissoko's that archetype, man. You know? Like, they really like that archetype.
Blazing Nuggets Pro Cronin fans have such a hard time realizing how lucky Joe was with that Tamani. That Tamani turned out to be this good. That trade was primarily for Aiden. I mean, you got to give Joe some credit for making them include him or getting them to include Tamani in that. But yeah, I mean, Tori and I were two of the biggest proponents of Tamani when that trade happened. We both thought that was a great pick for Phoenix at the time. I mean, you can go back and watch. We had Gabe on right after the pick, and we told him that he's going to love him and all that kind of stuff. Did like a scouting report on him. And that was literally the perfect fit for Phoenix, what they needed. It's crazy. But all that being said, there's no way I would envision talking about Tamani as like potentially a defensive player of the year in his second year and first team all. If he doesn't get first team all defense, he's snubbed, you know, and that's crazy, man. Like he's at worst like top end of the second team all defense this year, right?
Yeah.
Even if you think he's not first team, he's definitely towards the higher end of the second team. So, I mean, like no one, not even our front office, could have foreseen that big of a jump from Tamani in his first 2 years. They did get a little lucky that Tamani turned out to be this good, this fast. And you know, he is as old as Chris Murray, so he was an old rookie, so that does help him a little bit. But the strides he's made and the defensive prowess as both a rookie and a second-year player has just been outstanding. And you know, you're seeing a huge third-year jump out of a defensive player that was thought of it to be a defensive player, had some okay first couple of years, and then just boomed on a new team this year. That's Dyson Daniels. I'm wondering if Tamani has that level next year, or like what his high end level is. But they definitely deserve some credit for getting Tamani in that trade, but also got really lucky that Tamani turned out to be as good as he is.
Yeah, and I think, you know, another comparison for a defensive prospect that has kind of boomed offensively this year is Quentin Grimes in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not counting on Tamani making a serious jump offensively. I think that he's a very smart player. I just don't know if he has the physical tools to really make a jump offensively, like beyond what he already is, which is a fine offensive player. But it's like taking that jump to being a, 17, 18 point per game, maybe 4 assist type of guy, kind of like what Denny is this year. I'm not counting on that from Tamani, which is fine. Like, the thing is, they shouldn't have to count on Tamani to be that type of offensive player. They should have enough offensive players where it's like, Tamani, you just go and be that dog defensively and then make some threes, attack some closeouts, play in the flow offensively, and that's exactly what we need from you.
Mm-hmm.
That should absolutely be the future, his future role, right? And if the Blazers get insanely lucky and he develops beyond that, sure, great. That's a great thing. But That's not something that you should be counting on, and that's not something that you should be worrying about. The only reason why the Blazers may worry about that is because they don't have enough offensive talent, or they don't have enough good offensive role players to help them become a borderline top 10 offense. Because I think with this core, the hope is that they become like a borderline top 5 defense and a borderline top 10 offense, and that's how they contend. I kind of have more faith in them becoming a borderline top 5 defense than I do in them becoming a borderline top 10 offense. I think their defense and their defensive talent far surpasses the offensive side of the ball. The offensive side of the ball is the biggest problem for this team. And it sounds like the Blazers are going to bring back Chauncey Billups, so there's not going to be an improvement in terms of the way they design stuff or the way they draw stuff up. It's still going to be crap. So, yeah, you gotta find a way to gain some ground there, and it shouldn't be having to count on Damani to be the guy that gains a ton of ground there for you.
Yeah. If I'm him, I would watch like every single game Scottie Pippen ever played and see what you can do to like, because he's got the same, I mean, maybe he doesn't have the quickness or whatever, but like he's got similar like body style. I wonder if he could maybe pick up some things by doing that.
Yeah, I don't know if he's like as agile and fluid offensively as Scottie was. Like beyond just the quickness. Like I think that's the one thing that will hold Tamani back. And that's what I mean by like I don't expect him to take like a huge leap forward offensively. Which is fine. He's a top 10 defender in the league and shot 37% from 3 and can occasionally make a play for other players and attack closeouts and that sort of stuff. Like that's a really, really good player.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's already a really good player, so happy to have him here in Portland. Hopefully he's a Blazer for a long time.
Yeah. Just reading chat here. All right, do you want to talk about the elephant in the room?
Want to do that or Tankathon first?
Chat, do you want us to talk about Chauncey first, which is probably going to take a lot of time, or do you want to do Tankathon first? Let me know in the chat. Tankathon or Chauncey? Let me know how badly you guys are dying to talk about your favorite head coach.
Chauncey, elephants, Chauncey.
Elephants. All right. We got a lot of Chauncey's. All right, we'll talk about
Steve Dogg was the only Tankathon. Sorry, Steve Dogg.
All right, to set the stage, Dwight Haynes had a article behind a paywall, but like a report basically deciding multiple sources that believe that Chauncey is likely to remain the Blazers head coach for many more years, which is just a brutal way to put it. Many more years for Chauncey. I reacted to it earlier today on an earlier live stream. So for those of you that were in there for that, you know how I feel. Eric was not there for that live stream. So I just want your take on that report, if you think that report is true, and then if that report is true, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so I tweeted this out today, and then I've also been saying this on the show every time we've talked about this, and that's, I believe that this front office views Chauncey and Joe Cronin in the same way. They think of them as more of a package than individuals.
Stupid way to view things. You gotta evaluate them differently.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with this. I'm just telling you what I've been saying. And that's basically, I mean, you can talk about the on-court stuff with Chauncey that doesn't apply to Cronin, and you can talk about the trades by Cronin that doesn't apply to Chauncey. But the overall jump from 21 wins to 35 wins or 36, whatever it ends up being, that can be applied depending on your perspective, to one or the other, or both equally, or I mean, I guess you could say neither, but I mean, someone's got to get credit, I guess. But the organization views it as part Chauncey, part Cronin, and I think that's going to lead to both of them getting offered similar extensions. And um, I, I kind of poo-pooed the Chauncey's not a Cronin guy, wasn't a Cronin hire, so there's a chance Cronin might want his own guy. I don't believe that at all. I feel like Cronin likes Chauncey a lot and doesn't view him as Olshay's hire or whatever. I think they're still in lockstep. Now we can. This is where people are going to disagree with us, or at least some people, or our echo chamber will agree with us, and that's that we don't think they should be in lockstep, and we don't think they should be evaluated in this manner. But it's my understanding that they view both in a positive light after this season, and kind of feel like they both deserve to be back for several years because of it.
Okay. What do you think about it?
Um, my I think, and I mean, you can say this is negative.
Who cares if people say it's negative? Just tell me what you think.
It's pessimistic, but
who cares? Who cares what people say about it? I want to know what you think.
As a Blazer fan, and Tori, you can.
We just gotta stop disclaiming stuff. But go on.
You can attest this as a Mariners fan, right?
Yeah.
When the team's supposed to be good,
Yeah.
you guys struggle and suck, and then you get down on it, and then you have a good year, and then everyone's back to like, oh, we're gonna contend next year, we're gonna make the playoffs, we're just a bat away or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you suck again, and then you lower your expectations, and then you're good the next season. Like, it's this never-ending process, right? And I feel like that's what's about to happen. Like, I can see it next year. We're going to win like 30 games, and everyone's going to be disappointed, and we're not going to have like as good of a run that we had for a time. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. Everyone that's watching, I hope this is wrong. I hope, since we're going to be going for the playoffs, I hope we somehow take a huge step like the Rockets did this year, and everyone can shove it in our faces about how we were wrong and this Blazers team took a huge jump and Cronin and Chauncey are the man, whatever. But I feel like we're going to have a similar or slightly less win total next year, and everyone's going to be disappointed then, and then we're going to be like, well, why did we extend these guys? Because we're not improving over last year. Like, so then, because we've talked about this several times, it's really easy to make the jump from like a 20-win team to a 30-win team.
Yeah.
You can do it artificially. Like, you can pump players into there that get you there, like Denny and Clingan. The hard part is crafting your team to take that next jump, and without a true star, I don't know if it's going to happen. So I'm afraid we're going to get kind of stuck in this, and then we will have extended both of them, similar to extending Olshay after the conference finals run and Stotts, and then you have to eventually fire them instead of just maybe hiring a new coach or GM when the time was right. And so yeah, I don't like it because I feel like 4 years, and just some of it might not be his fault, but I don't feel like he has done enough in these 4 years to deserve an extension. But yeah, looks like it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, so...
And for the record, Dwight Jaynes reported today that it was already agreed upon. They just haven't announced it yet. I don't take that for what it's worth.
So... There's like there's like 4 different points I want to make that I made earlier that I want your thoughts on, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, he's not a good enough schematical coach or in-game situational coach to help this team take the jump from 35 wins to the 47, 48 wins they'd need to have to just make it into the top 8. Okay? Because schematically, his offense is not good. Defensively, it's like everybody says he's a good defensive coach because he gets guys to play hard, right? Like, that is why he's a good defensive coach. But here's the thing. When everybody that likes Chauncey talks good about Chauncey, it's never about anything within the actual basketball game. It's never about, like, yeah, he designs his offense well. You know, he really gets guys going with the way he designs his offense. You know, his half-court offense is good. It's never about, like, defensive adjustments, you know. And then we've seen him struggle late in games. We've seen him struggle situationally, okay? And it's like, to me, he's just at such a deficit when it comes to, like, in-game situational coaching that it's not good enough unless he has a bunch of talent to consistently beat good teams, and that's what you have to do to get into the top 8 in the West. That's what you have to do. Now, with culture and playing hard and blah, 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 all that stuff that everybody loves to talk about with Chauncey, yeah, that can take you from 22 wins to 35 wins, okay? It's not hard to improve upon 22 freaking wins, right? He's not good enough in those areas for them to take an even bigger step next year. Because while 35 wins is, 13, or did they have 21 last year? 21 or 22?
21. It's 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's 14 more wins than 21. Okay. But it's much easier to go from 21 to 35 than it is to go from 35 to 45, in my opinion. Do you agree with those critiques of him? Do you agree that that will be a big detriment in them taking that next step, unless they go out and make a huge move in order to infuse a ton of offensive talent to this team?
Yeah, we still did. I mean, I heard you bring up some of the assist stats and stuff earlier in the stream, or the stream earlier this afternoon.
Yep. For anybody that didn't listen, we were 30th in assist percentage last year, 28th in assist percentage this year. That is the percentage of made shots that were assisted upon. That means we are 3rd in unassisted field goal percentage. Like, we have the 3rd most field goals that are unassisted as a percentage. Okay? That is not good. We should not be playing iso ball. That stat should not be what it is.
Right. And you could say, well, if players made shots, we get more assists. Yes, that's true. But
that's assists per game. That's not assist percentage.
Right. That would help. Yeah, exactly. So
it's not dependent upon how many shots you make.
That kind of takes that out of that argument out of it. So to me, I mean, we were clowning this most of this season early on.
Yeah.
We haven't really done it because it just got repetitive doing it. But the dribble handoff offense, like, it doesn't lead to creating advantages, and they don't do enough to, even when they do get mismatches, like Denny mismatches onto a smaller guy, like, why doesn't he go in the post? And he did say something about posting up more or something in the future in his interview during the game. I forgot exactly what he said, but I've been saying that for weeks, haven't I, Tori? We need to find a way to post him up because he feels like he's a guy who we could play inside out from. Like, he feels like he could punish people in the post with his strength. That's something that he should definitely try to add to his repertoire this offseason. But yeah, I agree. We don't really have an offense. Like, we didn't play with the pace that the fast break style that Chauncey has been talking about for several off seasons now. I still don't really know what our identity is on offense, because Chauncey came in saying he doesn't necessarily want to take a bunch of threes, and then there's been games where we shoot 50 threes and shoot ourselves out of the game because we're just chucking threes, and it's like,
We still get to the rim at like a very high rate compared to other teams, so that's their identity. But like the fast pace offense,
yeah.
Where do we rank in terms of fast break buckets? Where do we rank in terms of pace? It's below average.
Yeah, I don't
know the exact number, but it's not. We are not a fast paced team.
Yeah, I can find out for Blazers. Pace is 16th.
Yep. We a lot of dribble handoff. The offensive structure does not create advantages for players unless a defense lazily switches. But then we don't really punish those matchup advantages that we do have enough. And that's why they're 28th in assist percentage. Like, we've saw so much iso ball this year where, like, one guy's kind of dribbling the air out of the ball and nobody's moving, right? And people just blame the guy dribbling the ball, but it's like there's 4 other guys that aren't moving, just watching, waiting for somebody with the ball to do something. And, you know, Ant was the guy that people criticized for that, but there was many times where that guy was sharp, where that guy was scoot, where it's like, yeah, if you have the ball in your hands, you have to try and break a guy down one-on-one, or else you just pass it to the next guy, and he'll try and break down a guy one-on-one. There's way too much of that offense under Chauncey Billups, okay? The Blazers are one of the last teams in the league that should be running that type of offense. They don't have a star that they can just give the ball to, and he's just going to consistently create stuff for the offense out of isolation. But they still run that type of offense, which is just an indictment, an utter indictment on Chauncey's ability to scheme offense. It's always been a problem. It's always been a struggle, right? And then, like, defense, man, I mean, he just runs drop scheme almost all the time and switches to zones at the thing is, when he switches to zones, it's always at, like, the worst moments or against the worst lineups, too, which is just, like, goes down to you got to know situations and you got to know what to do in certain situations, and he struggles with that. And there's really nothing that he can hang his hat on schematically within the course of a game as a coach, and it's like the people that defend him act like that doesn't even matter, when that's a huge part of coaching, especially if you're going to try and win playoff series, where a 7-game playoff series is a series of adjustments and X's and O's.
Yeah, so they're 15th in fast break points. So
they're average. But that's the thing. This was supposed to be something that on paper they should be really good at, and they were preaching in the preseason they're average.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, yeah, I would – I mean, if he's going to be back, I think they need to find a way to have this ball movement offense that they've been preaching and this fast break offense. I think they have the players – especially if you trade if you trade Jeremy and stuff, like there should be no excuse Anthony to like if you trade those guys, we should play to our personnel, and that's get Sharp in the open court, get Scoot in the open court, get Tamani and Denny in the open court. Like those 4 guys are starting 4 potentially next year. Even Clingan's shown the ability to run the court despite people thinking he's slow. So, like, 4 out of our 5 starters for sure, I think, would thrive in that kind of fast break type system. And I think they would all thrive in a ball movement system that's designed to get them moving, catching the ball on the move towards the basket, and instead of trying to break someone off a dribble handoff or an ISO play. Yeah. So I think there is room to improve and implement those kind of things. I just have no faith in this coaching staff to actually be able to do it, because I mean it's been 4 years and we haven't seen it.
Yeah. You know what really, really irks me though about this?
What's that?
You know what really bothers me? This bothers me more than anything. Okay, because this was my biggest fear. It feels like they are celebrating barely reaching the bottom level of mediocrity. It felt that way with the Cronin extension, whatever. It really feels that way with Chauncey. After 4 years, he finally won 35 games, and his team is 12th in the West. We're going to extend him. What the Eric, it literally pisses me off. He's had 4 years. All he's done is win 35 games. In every conversation about Chauncey always starts with, well, but, I mean, his roster's not that good. What coach could win a championship with these guys? What do you really expect him to do? If you're starting off your conversation about why a team should extend a coach who's already had 4 years with all these excuses and caveats about how he was dealt a tough hand, you probably shouldn't have that coach for 6, 7, 8 years, however long they plan on having him for. That's ridiculous. So what? You're going to tell me that he's going to be here another 3 years, and from 2012 to 2028, 16 years, we're going to have 2 coaches in a 16-year span that probably have never won a Western Conference Finals game. In 16 years. Only 2 coaches. That's insane. That's way too much leash. That's way too much tenure for guys that aren't achieving crap. Stotts, at least he got teams to the playoffs and winning playoff series. He also had Damian Lillard. But, what has Chauncey done to earn an extension, man? He won 35 games. He got the team to 12th in the West. That's what he's done.
See, here's what it is. They wanted to have this season last year, right? This is the exact type of season they wanted to have last year, and be like, see, we didn't need Dame, and it happened a year or 2 late, but it was still fresh enough to say, oh, well, you can't just do it the first year. So now they're really got something building here, and they all sit there and justify it that way. And honestly, if you're pro Cronin and Chauncey, I get your argument for it. I'm not saying you're wrong or anything. I certainly see how you could feel that way, especially if you're trying to look for the positives. I can see how you like both of these guys. Because I get, whenever I post something about it, like I did earlier, I get everywhere from, oh no, I'm not even going to be able to watch the team, to they both deserve it, and it's pretty 50-50 split. So I think a lot of this fan base outside of our echo chamber,
Stop calling it that, man.
I know, it's just funny. Yeah. I love our echo chamber, but I think a lot of this fan base is excited about the growth of the team, excited about this jump, excited to see them make the playoffs this year or next year. I just, if they get that satisfaction, great. I'm just worried that they're going to all be stuck. Wait a minute. We're worse than last year. Why is that? And we could be because we told you this coach was not good, and we re-signed him, and we told you this GM doesn't know how to build a roster or take that next step or whatever, and that's probably going to be the reason. So
just cracking me up. They took a
time.
Here's the reality. They took a positive step in the right direction. That is true. Okay? That is absolutely true. But I also believe that they are over-exaggerating and overreacting to it. I fully believe they are overreacting to it. And maybe it's they know they're overreacting to it. They're just happy, getting back to mediocrity. So, they're right there, which is probably what I lean towards.
See, I can't believe an organization would want to strive for the bare minimum of mediocrity,
Yeah.
But we heard for years that this organization is happy just making the playoffs, getting a few home games, and maybe winning a series occasionally. It doesn't make sense to me why you wouldn't want to win, because that would bring a lot more attention and money. But you have to kind of put up a little bit more money, I guess. But their main goal is that sweet spot of being good enough to where everyone's engaged, the whole fan base is engaged and interested in the team, and no one loses interest, but they don't have to pay the necessary tax or go into that apron or whatever to build a contender or worry about like letting someone go or re-signing someone because they're cheap. So like they don't ever have to put themselves in that position by like trading a Josh Hart before his free agency comes up or his extension comes up, you know. So like to me, we've heard that for years that this organization only cares about getting in that sweet spot, and it's honestly I can't argue that that's not what's happening here yet again. Like
I mean, every
they're
sign
happy.
is pointing towards that. No, there's no
Right?
signs that are pointing towards they want more than that.
Right.
You know what that makes
They
me...
don't even interview for the jobs. You know what I mean? Like
You know what
they
that just makes me feel like, man? That makes me feel like an idiot. Like, it makes me feel like an idiot for wanting more. And getting worked up about it as if they might also want more. It's like, you know, I'm sitting here on post-game streams. I'm sitting here covering this team year-round, talking about what they can do for more, what they can do for better, how they could try and chart a path to contention. And I'm sitting here emotionally invested in that, and they don't even care. Makes me feel like a moron, man. Like, why? Why am I doing this to myself emotionally as a fan if they don't care?
Yeah, that's why. So, Blazing Duck says you guys are mega fans and put a lot into the shows, but as hard as you guys work, it won't change a thing. Yeah, and that's why it's always funny when it's like, you guys need to believe in your team, whatever. It's like, well, like, I don't even know if they want to
Yeah.
want to win a championship. I mean,
At this
obviously
point,
they
it's like,
want
just do some things that makes me feel like you might actually want that down the line.
to. And one of those things, I mean, the time passed, but that would have been making one move to try and help Dame maybe get a chance to win a championship.
Yeah. But then in the rebuild, like, actually trying to put your salary cap in a position where you can accumulate enough assets to actually make a splash down the line and maybe have something left over, like putting yourself in a better position coming out of the rebuild. Instead, it's just like, yay, we won 35 games. Here's extensions for everybody. We can see the vision in the broadcast. You can see the vision. It's like, okay, but define the vision. The vision for this team becoming a 7th seed and peaking at a 7th seed, a 6th seed? Or are you guys trying to say we can see the vision for a contender? Because I can't see the vision for a contender down the line. I cannot see the vision for a contender down the line. Literally, like, I'm going to come up with the most insane, unrealistic BS, like, plan A for this offseason at the end of the stream just to try and cope, okay? And that's maybe the most realistic plan to get to contention out of this rebuild. And it's an insane plan.
Well,
it's an insane plan, but it might be the most realistic in my mind, man. I don't see how they're going to get to contention.
we have a 4.5% chance, Tori.
Well, yeah.
4.5%. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. I guess we'll do Tankathon and then...
Do you think Jody would be pissed if we moved up to 1?
No, I don't think she'd be pissed. I think the money they'd make would be...
Yeah.
You know.
That's true.
But the crazy thing about the Chauncey thing, too, is, like, they're supposedly ready to bump his pay. It's not even them being cheap. It almost makes it worse, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, it's almost just like, okay, you know, you held on to Chauncey because you're being cheap. That's why he's still here, is because, you know, you didn't want to pay another coach, or you didn't want to fire Chauncey and have to pay him still, right? You didn't want to commit that much money to a coach. And then they're like, nah, actually, we want to pay Chauncey more. Like, all right, cool. I guess. Anyway,
But before you get to Tankathon, so I see this come up a lot too. If if Chauncey, if they wanted to extend Chauncey, they would have announced it at the same time as Cronin. So what I heard was that Chauncey is actually waiting to see what jobs are available or if he's interviewed for jobs because he can use that even if he doesn't get the job or get granted a chance to interview, he could use that as an opportunity to um, like get more money from the Blazers in an
How are we
extension.
being leveraged by a coach who in 4 years has won a third of his games?
I, I don't know, Tori, but like for example, uh, all signs point to Denver probably sticking with Adelman as their coach moving forward. But if if they decided to move on and just completely go in a different direction, I think that's a team that would call Chauncey, and having the Jokic and stuff, I think would intrigue Chauncey to possibly leave. Do we pull out our cards and sign like pick up his option then, or like what do we do? So yeah,
So, I mean, Jane said that they'll let him explore the market.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
we are willingly letting ourselves be leveraged
Mm-hmm.
by a
Well,
coach who in 4 years has won a third of his games.
yeah,
Because we won 35 games this year and it's time to celebrate.
yeah.
I mean, all right. All right, man. Cool. Like, best case is Portland trying to get a draft pick for Chauncey. That'd be a sure. Like, if some team
Yeah,
is silly enough to do that, and yeah, please, like. Maybe we're bluffing. Maybe it's like we believe in him so much that other teams are gonna want him, and then we can cash him in for a second round pick
yeah.
that we can trade for cash. That we can trade for cash. Listen, I'll take the 52nd pick for Chauncey. There's been 3 good 52nd picks in a row. Matkovic, who's been playing well lately.
Who's
Kamara.
the fourth one?
Well, no, I said there's 3 in a row.
No, I'm saying who's
the one before
going back 4 years?
Matkovic?
Yeah.
Chat, who was the 52nd pick before Matkovic? Actually, I can look this up. That was the 2021 NBA draft, yeah. Let me look it up. Oh, Luka Garza.
Nice. So 4 in a row.
Yeah, just because it's the legend himself, Luka Garza. All right, 2020. It was Kenyon Martin Jr., who's been pretty good for a 52nd pick, because he's still in the league.
Yeah.
2019, it was Jalen McDaniels. But, I mean, you look at the guys around him. Jarrell Brantley, Quindary Weatherspoon, Tremont Waters, Justin Wright Foreman, Muriel Shayok, Kyle Guy. Jalen McDaniels was the best NBA player out of those stretch of picks at 52nd. Hey, the 52nd pick is where you want to be. Okay, the year before was Vincent Edwards, so, But since that was the Anthony draft, that's how far back we have to go to find a completely irrelevant player. Yeah.
Nice.
So get the 52nd pick, man. Don't trade it this time. You traded for it last time. You did the right thing, and then you traded it this time, and now the Warriors have Quentin Post.
Denver doesn't have a pick this year. I guess we could trade for a future pick.
Yeah. Yep. Tankathon, our only hope, and then I'll get into what I would do if I owned the Blazers. What I would try to do. Okay. Oops, I did not want to click on that. Okay, good. It didn't crash the stream. I thought the stream was about to crash. All right. Tankathon.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about whether Chauncey wants to be here long term. I think he does. There's a couple places like Denver that I think he'd rather be than here if that became available to him. I'm not sure if that's going to be available or not, or if they'd want Chauncey or not. So I think he's just waiting to see what's out there. But I think ultimately, if the Blazers offer him an extension, unless a playoff type championship team comes calling, I think he's most likely going to accept it.
Yep. All right. Well, back up to 20% chance of the top four. 1 in 5 chance of the top four, Ben. Maybe there's a 1 in 5 chance Chauncey walks, and then there's a 1 in 5 chance that Cronin has a good offseason. What is 1 in 5 chances?
4.3.
What is 1 in 5 chances? Because that's the odds we have something good happen this offseason.
It's 4.3%.
No, 1 out of 3 1 in 5 chances.
I know, I was just joking.
Yeah,
but
I don't even.
It still comes back to flag.
Well,
is what I'm saying.
We got 4.5% chance of flag.
Yeah, 4.5. Sorry.
I'm just saying, like top 4, I'd be obviously happy with. All right, let's simulate it. Let's scroll up from the bottom. 14 is Dallas, 13 is Atlanta via Sacramento, 12 is Chicago, 11 is Miami, 10 is Houston via Phoenix, 9 is the Brooklyn Nets moving down 3 spots.
Wow.
That's crazy. So that means San Antonio, Portland, and Philadelphia? Wait, let me just see who's at 8. That was not the team I expected to see at all. That's crazy. 8 is New Orleans moving down 4 spots. Well, that scenario we were talking about earlier in the stream came into play with Utah and Washington missing, and Charlotte also missed. You have Portland, Philadelphia, Toronto, and San Antonio in the top 4. Could you imagine? Dude, if this happened, I'd be really excited because it's like all teams with low odds, so who knows?
We'd be going crazy right now.
Oh, man.
Crazy.
But also stressing that San Antonio would get number 1 again and we'd get like number 3.
Yeah, true.
Have deja vu.
Hey, at least we finally got a fun sim. Holy crap.
I know, it's been a minute. All right, there we are up to 5. At 4 is the San Antonio Spurs. Perfect.
Yes!
Yeah. I missed the sound effects, man. We'll have to bring them back next year. At 3 is the Portland Trailblazers.
No.
No flag. Instead, we get Ace Bailey shooting 18-footers like he's Jeremy Grant. At 2 is Philadelphia, which means the Toronto Raptors capture the flag. I mean, I'd be happy with this, but
Congrats, Dr. Arshad.
Yeah. I mean, I think the question would become, it's funny, this graphic is funny now from the last stream, considering we're not firing him, but, which one would we take? Would we take, which one would we get? Could Harper fall to 3? Or is it just automatically Ace Bailey? Because nobody thought Scoot would fall to 3, right?
Yeah.
Nobody thought Scoot would fall to 3. But we got an Ace Bailey and a Dylan Harper graphic. I mean, which one would we end up with at 3?
Man, because I could definitely see the 76ers taking Ace.
Yeah.
With their guard situation already.
Yeah.
Or, maybe they trade down one or something. So I guess we just take Harper then if he's on the board. If it's BJ or Bailey, man, I don't have a I wouldn't really care a whole lot either way. I'd be fine either way.
I feel like if we end up with Ace Bailey, he's gonna be a bust, man. Like I cannot shake that
Maybe.
feeling. I kind of have that feeling in general.
Yeah.
But also, it's like if he ends up being good, it's like okay, duh. But also, if he ends up being a bust, it's like also kind of duh. You know what I mean? It's just he has so many red flags. His 3-point shot wasn't even that good. The feel offensively, the like defensive mistakes he makes, like when he can lock in on the ball, he's fine defensively. But like off the ball, team defense, like he would, I think, legitimately hurt our team defense unless he makes some drastic strides there. Um, I just do not trust Ace Bailey to pan out. I just do not trust Ace Bailey to pan out. I trust Dylan Harper more. I trust VJ Edgecombe more. There's been part of me that's been tempted to put Knipple above Ace Bailey. But it's like the upside, that's what you're drafting in the top 4 for upside. So that's why I still have Ace Bailey at 4. But man, he scares me.
Yeah, at least you're not. I mean, this sucks to say about a third pick, but I don't think it would be at like the hype or the pressure like Scoop faced. I think you would have him come off the bench behind Denny and Tamani and be fine next year, and I think you could bring him along slowly and have him learn the game. But
I just feel like, are we going the route of having guys that like seem like they should be good 3-point shooters, but aren't, that like take a ton of jump shots and a ton of mid range shots, and that's like sharpen Ace Bailey long term? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I like Sharp a lot better next to Dylan Harper than Ace Bailey. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you obviously trade Simons and that, but I don't
have to.
I like Ace better with Scoot, and I agree that I like Harper better with, or VJ better with Sharp.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to BetUS TV for the graphics. So here's something I wanted to talk about with Chauncey, but forgot. It feels like bringing Chauncey back is just... It means we absolutely have to trade Grant. But we might have to attach an asset to him. But if we don't, is Chauncey going to freaking start him next year? Like, bringing back Chauncey is just bringing back so many problems, I feel like. It's like, I could see them extending Chauncey. They can't get anything back for Jeremy Grant, so they bring him back. And then they start, like maybe they trade Ant. They have to trade somebody. They have to trade somebody. If they literally don't change a single thing and they go into next year with Chauncey starting a lineup of like Ant, Kamara, Denny, Grant, and Ayton, that is so insanely stupid. But like, I'm legitimately worried that Scoot's gonna start next season on the bench under Chauncey, and like Grant's gonna be starting. And if they trade Ant, it's gonna be like Denny's our point guard, and so you start Sharp instead of Ant with Kamara, Avdia, Grant, and whoever the center is. And it's just going to be like, we're going on year 3 of Scoot. He played much better as a starter last year, and he's going to have his role still toyed around with and be played in an offense that maybe doesn't suit him the best. And it just, at that point, it just feels like we're wasting any potential Scoot has. Like, and that disgusts me.
Yeah.
That is like... if they bring Chauncey back, man, he has to stop being married to Jeremy Grant. I think Chauncey really likes Grant, man. I don't know. But like, if you legitimately are going to bring this dude back, you have to make sure that he's actually going to commit to the young core as part of bringing him back. Like, and you can make it easier on him by making some freaking moves.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But that's another part of the equation with Cronin and Chauncey in his front office is like how many times are the part of the fan base they care about going to allow them to kick the can down the road and not move these guys or until it's too late or they get lesser value and then it's a negative contract, we had to trade him or we had to trade a pick with him or something. Like, I don't know.
I think if you run back the status quo next year and they are slightly worse or they don't get any better, I don't understand how anybody could be okay with that.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Hopefully they don't have injury excuse.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to predict, without knowing how this offseason goes, but just like knowing the Blazers, at this point, like, truthfully, I don't think they'll be in the play-in next year. And maybe that's just because I'm being pessimistic about the Chauncey stuff, but like, what 5 teams are they going to be better than? Right? Like, let's say Utah.
We don't know the teams yet.
Yeah, of course, but like, let's say Utah, let's say New Orleans, let's say Phoenix takes a step back, they trade KD. All right, those 3 teams. Okay.
Well, what if one of those teams gets, or not Phoenix, but Utah or New Orleans gets flagged?
I still think it'll take some time, even with flag.
Yeah, I'm not saying there'd be playoffs or whatever, but maybe better than us.
I still don't think so. So, like, let's just say Phoenix, New Orleans, Utah, okay? We were ahead of San Antonio barely. They were without Wemby, like, the whole stretch run. And they'll have De'Aaron Fox for a full season. Like, it's going to be harder to beat San Antonio, right? It's going to be hard to beat San Antonio. Dallas, maybe, if, like, AD gets hurt. So let's just say Dallas. Let's just be generous and say Dallas. And let's say, like, Sacramento. Like, all right, maybe you can get to 10. Maybe you can get to 9 if you're better than San Antonio. But it's like, what team in the top 8 is Portland going to be better than next year? If they have a similar roster. By the way, since the start of February, the Blazers only have one single win against an above 500 team who had their best player in the lineup. Okay. Everyone wants to talk about, oh man, they're 22-17 since mid-January. In that time span, they only have 2 wins against above 500 teams who had their best player in the lineup. In that time span, they only had... It depends on, Orlando's above 500 now. So now that Orlando won today and is above 500, they only had 5 wins against above 500 teams. Out of those 22 wins that people keep referencing, 17 of them were against below 500 teams. And out of the 5 that were against above 500 teams, 3 of them, those teams did not have their best single player. Like their best individual player. The Nuggets didn't have Jokic. The Grizzlies didn't have Ja. Well, I guess 3 of them did. Orlando, you had Paulo. But he was 1 for 14 that game. So you beat Orlando when they had Paulo. You beat Milwaukee when they had Dame. And you beat Indiana when they had Halliburton.
Paul and Franz came back for that game or like the game before that or something. Yeah.
So I like just for context, 17 of those 22 wins against below 500 teams. Only 3 of those 22 wins came against an above 500 team that had their best player in the lineup. One of them was Orlando, where they just had guys get back and were rusty, and they are only above 500 because they won tonight, and they're now 41-40.
Mm-hmm.
So you could easily say 2 of the 22 wins were good wins. Milwaukee and Indiana. Both were at home, by the way, in a giant homestand. Both of those games, I think the other team was on the second night of a back-to-back. I don't know about Milwaukee, but I know Indiana was. Oh, and Milwaukee was too. So those two good wins against teams that are above 500 with their best player since mid-January, out of these 22 wins the Blazers have, only 2 are against legitimately above 500 teams that had their best players, and both those teams were on the second night of a back-to-back playing in Portland. In the middle of Portland's 7-game homestand. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not necessarily trying to fully downplay it because it's better than last year, but the point I'm trying to make is, like, how much stock can we really put into this? You know? I don't think you can put full stock into it. Man. This is where it's like, I don't know if they're going to be... They're going to have to take a big step next year to where they start beating some of these healthy above 500 teams. Because even when they were playing great basketball, they still didn't do it.
Rip City says, hang the banner, 35-win season.
Yeah. But it's just like a lot of their success came against opponents that Portland probably should have beat.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I do not like this organization using that as like, yeah, we should re-sign everybody. We should extend everybody. Because I just feel like it's ignoring some context that went into this stretch.
Yeah, but 14-game improvement.
Yep.
Arrow's drunk.
Yeah, that's good for him.
He wants us to open up the calls.
Nah. I'm going to end the stream in like 5 minutes or so. Probably. We'll take questions and then we'll end the stream. We'll read comments and then we'll end the stream.
Clingan set the record for a Blazers rookie most offensive rebounds in a season. Good for him. He also set the record for total rebounds for a rookie.
All right.
Are you setting up your trade thing?
What? Oh, yeah, I was going to talk about that. Okay, that's what I'll end with. If I own the team, what I would be doing right now is...
Here we go.
You ready?
I mean, I think I already know what this is.
I'd be planting seeds in Dame's head. The seeds I would be planting is... If you can convince Giannis, we can make a trade happen and you will have a contending roster around you two in Portland. If you can convince Giannis to come here with you and we can bring you back. That's the seeds I'd be planning in his head right now as a plan A. And I'll say this about plan A's. If your plan A is not out there and unrealistic, you're probably not trying hard enough. Plan A should always be your best case scenario. That's why you have contingency plans, because most of the time your plan A should not pan out. Okay? But Dame and Giannis talked before about playing together in Portland. That Bucks team, the supporting cast is pretty damn bad. I think if there's rumors around Dame, Milwaukee could send him anywhere. It's not working out there, right? Like, I think it, honestly, maybe with this ownership group and this GM, maybe it'd be tough because of the past, but like if you had a fresh ownership group, fresh GM, right, I don't think it'd be that hard to convince Dame to want to come back. You just had that tweet about Tamani. He should be first team all defense, right? I bet you Dame would love to play with Tamani. And you just plant the seed in Dame's head. Like, you can get Giannis to come here. We can make the trade happen. You just have to convince Giannis to want to come here with you. And we will trade for both of you. Because I think if you could convince Dame to convince Giannis, I legitimately think you could make a trade work this offseason for both of them. Now, it's obviously a huge pipe dream and a huge, very unrealistic scenario to convince Dame to convince Giannis. But I think if you did do that, I think you could pull off a trade for Giannis because, one, I think Milwaukee would take what he wants a little bit into account. Two, you can trade, a package of, people aren't going to like this, but let's just say, you're getting Giannis, okay? And Dame. Let's just say Sharp, Simons, Ayton, Robert Williams, and I think maybe Thibault. Yeah, I think it's basically even money, and all those guys are expiring contracts other than Sharp. But obviously they'd want to keep Sharp long term. And then you trade them your lottery pick this year. You trade them your 2027 first. Or no, your 2028 first because you owe 2026 to Chicago. So for 2028, you give them their swap rights back, okay? Because right now Portland has rights to swap. You give them their swap rights back. In 2029, you give them the best out of Boston, Milwaukee, Portland. In 2030, you just give them your pick, right? Right now Portland has rights to swap. And then you trade 2032, which you can this offseason. Now, if you can try and flip Ant for another first-round pick, you're talking about what, five first-round picks going Milwaukee's way with Shaedon Sharp, and they're getting back control of their future in 2028, 2029, and 2030. I think one of the reasons why that could work is because you're giving them control of 2028 and 2029 and 2030 because Portland has full control basically of their picks if their picks are at the top of the draft in those years. And if you can do a trade like that with Sharp, I mean, would a starting lineup of Dame, Tumani, Denny Avdia, Giannis, and Clingan be good enough to contend next year? I think it would. And then you have Scoot off the bench. Once Dame gets too old, Scoot takes over for him. I would love Dame mentoring him. And I think you could still contend after Dame, or maybe move Dame to the bench when he really starts to fall off, whatever. I don't know. I think you legitimately have a multi-year window for contention. Yes, it's insanely unrealistic, but so was the Lakers trading for Luka. So if I own the team, that's what I would be trying to do. And then if you can't convince Dame to convince Giannis, you'll know pretty early, then you move on to plan B. Whatever the hell plan B is.
What's plan B? Lauri Markkanen?
I don't know, man. It's only April 11th. I haven't gotten that far, all right? I haven't gotten that far. Plan B is probably a lot more boring.
Man, all the Dame haters would hate you.
I know. But I truly do think if you could convince Dame to convince Giannis, you could get Milwaukee to take that trade. I don't think Dame has that much value. I think 5 firsts, including some of them being your own, expiring contracts, one and you could keep in a Shaedon Sharp would be actually pretty damn solid, especially considering it's their own first. So, yeah.
That's quite the fan fiction.
I mean, so was Luka to the Lakers.
Yeah, but we're the Blazers. We don't get that.
Well, because I don't own the team. Dude, I wish I could own the team, man. You guys know I would not settle for no mediocre bullshit, all right? We're trying. We're trying. Now maybe I'd be Matt Ishbia 2.0 and completely mess up a whole decade of basketball, but I'd try. I would try, man. I would try. The funny thing is, you'd still have Grant off the bench on that team. Hypothetically, do you think a lineup next year of Dame, Kamara, Avdia, Giannis, and Clingan as the starting five with a bench consisting of Scoot, Jeremy Grant, and like a backup big, do you think that lineup could contend in the West?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No.
I'm just worried that we couldn't do it without trading Jenny and then.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you got Giannis to want to stay with Dame and have a better team and come to Portland, like with all the picks you're trading them and Sharp and giving them control of 3 years of their future, like I already think that's very strong. So, yeah. I mean, maybe you'd even give him Scoot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But, like, that lineup would contend, right? And that's the goal of the rebuild anyway. Like, that's the thing. If the Blazers are actually going to be aggressive this year, it has to be such a good move or such a big move that they would contend right away. I don't think they should be aggressive for a move that wouldn't make them a contender right away because it's unlikely that you'd become a contender down the line. Like, if somebody's not good enough to make you a contender next year, they're probably not going to be good enough to make you a contender down the line. And banking on whatever player you trade for it. Yeah, I mean, but, like, if you're trading for a player, you're trading for an established guy. Like, you're not going to give up a bunch of assets for a 21-year-old unless it's, like, the Warriors get tired of Kuminga, but, like, he's not going to get us anywhere, and he's a free agent, but like just hypothetically,
yeah,
right? So it's kind of the point. It's just like you either got to be very patient or very, very aggressive. And here's the thing: it's like if your best realistic plan is just to be patient and like try and trade Ant and maybe see if you can trade Grant, like you can see how aggressive you can get and see if you can plant some seeds that could grow into something that people right now would say is unrealistic, but you can be super aggressive. Now, that's if you're trying to build a contender. 99.5% chance it doesn't pan out and you just sit here and you be patient, fine. But, like, you should always try to see what's out there and see what you can make happen. And then fall back on plan B. If you just accept mediocrity and accept and settle, you're not trying hard enough. So, yeah.
And then OKC offers like 15 first for Giannis, and we're screwed.
I mean, would they even want to pay Giannis with how much they're going to have to pay their guys? I mean, well, maybe they'd trade Chet in that trade, but yeah, like payroll's a problem for them in that scenario. OKC doesn't even have 15 picks left. How many picks do they even have left?
All right.
I don't know. Depending on if they just try to make a pure draft pick package, they probably have to trade 8 or 9 to match 5 to 6, including some of Milwaukee's own picks and Sharp, because Milwaukee's own picks are going to be valuable to Milwaukee to get back if they're entering a rebuild. That's kind of what that like hinges upon.
No, not necessarily ones couple years down the road.
Yeah, but like if they have so few assets and no young players, and it's not like they'd be able to trade Dame for a whole lot, that they're going to enter like a 5-year rebuild anyway.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they try to get their own picks back? And,
what do you mean?
like 2026 and 2027.
Who has those? New Orleans has both of those?
I know they have the pick swap in 26. I don't know if they still have the 2027 first. I'm assuming they do.
Yeah. Yeah, New Orleans has swap rights in 2026 and their own first-round pick in 2027.
Unprotected, right?
Yeah. Would New Orleans trade those two and 3 more firsts and like Zion for Giannis, you know?
I don't know.
I mean, their pick this year could be a lot better. You know, I like that's the thing is, yeah, you'd maybe have to contend against New Orleans. But if you can convince Giannis to say, I want to go with Dame to Portland, man, I mean, does Milwaukee care about that? Like, does that play a factor? And we already gifted you Dame. You know, we already got a good relationship. We gave you Dame when Miami was trying to bully us into sending him to Miami.
But that trade hasn't necessarily worked out for Milwaukee.
Yeah, but we tried
I don't know if that's a good thing.
We tried to help him. We hooked them up with a dude that was coming off a season averaging 32-8, you know? So, anyway. Yeah. It'd be tough, but...
Keep your inventory.
It's sad that, like, I mean, that's about as... Is that more or less realistic than them going down the path they're going down and reaching contention? You know? Like...
I don't think either are.
Exactly. Exactly. Like
0% chance of both.
exactly.
Right now.
Like I do not think that's going to happen. Don't get me wrong. It is a pipe dream. It is copium, as the kids say. It is completely out there. But I would still try and make sure that it couldn't happen. You know what I mean? Anyway. Because I still think that's more realistic than Luka getting traded to the Lakers for like AD in a first.
Yeah, but I mean, we can't bank anything.
No, you're not banking on it. You're just
No,
seeing it.
I'm just saying,
possible.
like that was such an outlier trade in NBA history. Like,
Yeah, why don't we? Why we should try and make an outlier
because we're not
trade.
the Lakers.
Yes, of course we're not the Lakers, but that's all hindsight. We would have said even though they're the Lakers, that's not happening, and then it happened. So anyway, like, yeah, 4.5% chance. You mean? I mean, yeah. You know, we have a better chance of getting Cooper Flag. So
if we got the first pick and could trade Jeremy Ayton in the first pick for Giannis and Dame, would you?
with like Simons included, I assume.
Just whoever it take, like Scoot, Grant, Ayton, and
I would probably want to keep Scoot instead of Sharp, honestly, just to take over point guard long term. I don't know.
I don't think you worry about long term if you're trading for Giannis and Dame.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but like short term on that team, I don't know. Like, how big of a difference is there between those two guys? I don't know. Assuming Scoot takes another step next year.
I think Sharp and Simons would be way better with Giannis and Dame than.
Yeah, probably. But you have to think that Milwaukee would rather have Sharp.
Oh, I agree.
Scoot.
I'm just, but if we're giving them Flag, then they don't get to.
Yeah.
Negotiate that. That's the only thing.
Flag, yeah.
I'd probably just keep Flag at this
I'd probably
point.
just keep Flag too, man. Like, the
Yeah,
only reason I do that is because I want to win a chip with Dame, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Just for, like, sentimental reasons, which is not what you should base whether or not you make that trade off of. So, like, yeah, you probably just keep them. You still
yeah.
have assets down the line, like, you still can figure it out in the future. Dame can be our third guard when he hits free agency in a couple years, you know?
What's going to happen when we celebrate the first pick and then Cooper goes back to Duke?
Yeah, going back to Duke, man. Come on, man. I'm trying to sit here and cope, and you're sitting here and doing the op. What's the opposite of coping?
Realism. I'm
Is that what you call
I'm
it?
just, I'm just.
Anyway,
Being defeated. I don't know.
yeah.
Not coping.
God. Yeah. At the end of the day, reality sucks. So,
Yeah,
reality sucks.
that's
Chauncey's
okay.
coming back, and Joe's gonna be our GM forever, and never go into super duper win now mode. I just want them to go into super duper win now mode, man.
Looking back on that, it just seems such like they were really trying hard to over exaggerate their position. Like it was fake.
Yeah, now they're really over exaggerating winning 35,
Yeah.
35 games. So
Starcadia says you're gonna accept mediocrity and you're gonna like it, Tori.
okay,
JP Savvy says super duper mid mode.
mid now mode. See, when we criticize this front office for doing nothing this offseason, it's going to be this idiot's only criticizing the front office because he thought they'd get Giannis and Dame this offseason. What have I done?
Idiot.
Oh, man. Yeah. I don't know. That would be my pipe dream plan A. Like, if it's not wild, you're probably not trying hard enough type of thing. Now, if it's super unrealistic and it stops you from pulling off a good plan B, then you should probably scrap it. But if it's something that there's no downside to trying, like, swing for the freaking fences. Because if there's no downside, you're not going to strike out. You can always fall back on something else. That's how I view it, right? So
Can't wait to raise the banner for a play-in appearance next year.
can't wait to add to our division championships banner. When was the last time we even won a
Wait,
division championship?
I don't know, but we did win the first ever playing game.
True. True. Dude, the plane was meant for us.
Mm-hmm.
All along. I just
They
completely forgot
created
about 20. They created it just for
just for
us.
us. Yep.
Just so we could get slapped by the Lakers. Which is also what we're made for. Right? So, the plane was made for us. All along. That's why the plane exists. It's our fault. So we should accept that that is what we're made for. Can't wait to be the 10th seed next year and lose in the play-in to the Sacramento Kings, who have already traded Sabonis.
Cool, it says 2018.
We got a comment, why are you still live? As if we don't normally go live for longer than this. Are you guys going to Hoop Summit tomorrow? I might. We'll see. I've been thinking about it. because we might have a better pick in next year's draft.
Some good talent there.
Yeah. Next year is the draft to.
I'm excited to see Bogeljub play tomorrow.
Hello, true. Sorry, it's 2:30 a.m. Why am I still awake here? Well, that's a good question because you're watching the postgame show.
Don's on the East Coast.
We keep you awake for a reason. Anyway, anything else for the streamer?
Aeromancer's
I'm
begging.
not gonna. No, I don't.
Drunk Aeromancer.
I don't give special privileges to drunk Aeromancer. I just saw you join the voice chat too. Anyway, any final words, Eric, that you want to say to the stream and not your drunk friend Arrow?
I would let you on, Dro. Or not Dro, Arrow.
You can't. You didn't even get his name right.
Yeah.
Disaster.
I was reading Dro's comment.
Wow.
I was reading Dro's comment to like the stream as I was saying that.
Eric, it is not a good idea to tell a drunk man the wrong name.
He says he's not even that drunk.
Yeah, I've heard that before from him. Don't call a drunk man by the wrong name. It's a big no-no. Add that to the out-of-context montage at the end of the year. Anyway.
I joined the voice call and it was very distracting.
Yeah. I mean, Arrow is very distracting.
Taylor Packard says, what's the best possible record we could get by building around City Sissoko?
0-82, so we get the first pick because if we're building around City Sissoko, we are cooked.
Yeah.
Sorry for giving you such a literal answer.
If only he was here last stream.
Who, Arrow?
When no one called. You guys are disappointed.
You literally missed your chance, dude. We were just sitting here begging for callers. That's why it's like I'm not going to even open up the lines. You could have called in last stream. You didn't do it. You missed the boat. And now you're drunk. Which is cool. I'm happy for you. But we're about to end the stream. So shout out to BetUS TV. For the fourth time. Eric, any final words?
Thank you to everyone for watching. Appreciate you all. Like Tori said earlier, we'll have 2 streams on Sunday. One early in the morning, 9 something. And then we'll have the post-game show, the final post-game show of the year. As Tori also said earlier, do some appreciation of you guys as well. But yeah, appreciate you all for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend until Sunday, and hope to see you back then.
Yep. I need to de-admin Arrow once again.
Topic bugs.
Why did Arrow get moderated again on... Or demoderate Arrow on Discord? Who gave him moderator role again? I took it away for a reason. Anyway. Arrow's been a menace lately, man. Absolute menace. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out for this stream. We got one more post-game show. Oh, I had to do it for the polls? Yeah, I regret that. At least that's over on Sunday, so... what's the early stream for? Picks against the spread. We got 15 games, so we'll finish that up. Let me see the we got 2 people in this call-in that got started, I think, by Arrow. That's called Bugs. And we got more people in that than more people that were trying to call in the other night. I'm just going to end the stream. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a good rest of your day, your night, whatever it is. Blazers love Chauncey and Cronin and the status quo. So we're out of here. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.